Nicola. I got David again as surrogate, so let's do the next reintegration of your brain. Cool, let's get into it. Okay, comfy?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And hold, and hold, and relax, relax, relax. That's it, and hold together. Beautiful. Okay, so let's go have a look. Where do we need to start with you today, Nicola? So, okay. Okay, so I think survival patterns are all fairly clear. The first bit of the integration, the corpus callosum, anterior commissure, they seem to be fine. The area where we're getting a bit unstuck is the third hippocampal circuit. So that is the hippocampus, memory centers, connected to survival patterns. I think we might have done this one, but let's go have a look. I'll double check everything anyway and hold. Good, so your adrenals are happier. Survival, deep survival, hidden deep survival, awesome. Let's just check your celestial circuit anyway. And hold. And hold, beautiful. Excellent. Let's check corpus callosum. And hold. Trust and trust issues. And hold. Anterior commissure. And hold. Feeling sad, despondent, depressed. Shuts down the anterior commissure, beautiful. Okay, so hippocampal connections through their hippocampal commissure. And relax and hold. Two big things that shut that down: fear of failure. And hold. And fear of success. And hold. Beautiful. Okay, so now we're up to where your body actually asked for it. Let's just make sure at this point there isn't any psychological reversal. So want, need, think, safe, believe, deserve, trust. So nothing's unlocking there. Let's go from an unlocking indicator muscle. Okay, want, need, think, safe, believe, deserve, trust. So that's all good. So it's the survival pattern of the hippocampus. That's saying that's where we need to start today. Okay. I have a feeling we did do this. So anyway, so hold. That's not bad, but it's not 100%. Let's make sure. And hold. Yeah, so it is sort of in second stage stress, I think, but let's just double check in relation to because this is about danger. So it's about, we've got a sixth sense to warn us of danger. This can be out of whack. So perception of the world being dangerous unrealistically, or total disregard of danger. So it can be one way or the other, like totally believing everything's dangerous or totally being reckless and not believing the world's dangerous. And you're probably like me, you're fully aware of the danger and just want to run away from it a lot of the time because the danger isn't a lot of fun. So there's escape, submission, freeze. Escape, submission, freeze in relation to the danger. This can be connected to ADHD and ADD as well, because the brain just wants to have fun.
Oh, what's the dopamine?
Wants the dopamine, yep. Then we're going to look at CV8 and hold. Okay. So this one is decisions of life or death importance. So I'm going to connect life or actually. So there's a pain and punishment circuit connecting decisions of life or death importance, but what that is most of the time is our brain putting extra energy into something that was dangerous, that wasn't necessarily dangerous. Although, in the last few years there's been a lot more things that are sort of crazy decisions we have to make that are in that category. But nonetheless, we've got to calm these down because this is in the present. So we're going to calm down the present with what's going on and then sort of go back and find if there's some old patterns that are holding us in place there as well. They're pulsing nicely. Recheck the amygdala points because that was a pain and punishment circuit. That's good. And you have had a lot happen in the last couple of years. And hold. Okay, so these are pericardium ones. Oops. And hold. Yeah, so they're in third stage stress. So in this context, this is the reptilian drive for procreation, for sex, for connection, for relationships.
Is that in the midbrain?
Well, this is the hippocampus, so it is fairly, yeah.
Still working on the hippocampus.
Yeah, oh yeah, this is a fairly big one, this little survival pattern. But lots of areas have this area just overworking, so even people like pedophiles and rapists, like this area is just like in hyperdrive.
The past, present and future parts of the memory overlap a little bit. They get kind of fused.
Yeah. And then it depends what emotions we've got connected to everywhere about where they store.
Body keeps the score.
So, yeah, exactly. So when we've got lots of good serotonin and oxytocin and dopamine and feel-good hormones, then we store them in one part of the brain. If we're just stressed all the time, we lay them down in the trauma area of the brain so that our body's more likely to have go into trauma to stop us from doing something again.
Interesting.
There's a primary memory, so this is immediate memory, current and conscious awareness of the present moment. So CB14. So this is just about hippocampus and memory. And hold, and once again that's in third stage stress.
Still not strong.
No, it's a different area. And again there's a pain punishment circuit. Well, Nicola's always felt like her memory just wasn't as good as it could have been. So it's been a big challenge, learning new things and stuff like that. And it makes sense when this area of the brain, because the hippocampus is all about memory, and the memory area, when we're under trauma long term, and this is where, you've been talking about the grief and betrayal and things like that. And this is probably where our symptomatology can come from, because when we're feeling traumatized and abused, our hippocampus can shrink. Like literally down to 9% of the size that it should be.
And your memories are adrenaline laden.
Yeah.
So they don't record properly.
Oh, they can't. The brain goes no, because it's not important to keep it long term if you're about to get eaten by a crocodile.
Right.
So why would it bother laying it down in long-term memory? Something else in there in that CV14, which is primary memory. Hold. Okay, so it's gone from third stage stress to second stage stress. No, it's not the amygdala we need. A heart chakra. Okay. Well, let's put in the combo. So heart, lacrimal, sternum. This is about compassion, expansion, connection, unification, love. So the opposite of it is when we're feeling obsessive and hating and hysterical about things. So let's pop in heart chakra.
Overthinking.
And often unshed tears, because when the lacrimal bone shows up, the tear ducts attach to that. So when, you know, self-love, self-worth, self-esteem messes with us. That was okay. So
strong.
No,
Yeah.
but I unlocked it.
Oh.
So it locked and then it unlocked and then, so even though the heart chakra's shown up, that combo is balanced. Let's see what we need to do with the heart anyway, because there's something going on. Oh, we need a flower essence. Okay. Oh, okay. Isopogon is the flower essence. No, it's not. 5 corners is the flower essence showing up. This is one of the Australian bush flower essences, and it's to do with wanting to hide away, not wanting to be seen.
It's a betrayal trauma symptom.
Yeah. Oops. Yeah, so five corners. Life is getting to know you are worth it. That's Gita Berlin. So it's for low self-esteem, dislike of self, crushed, held in personality, but the positives are love and acceptance of self, celebration of own beauty, and joyousness. All of which feels very heart chakra connected to me. I am now celebrating my unique strengths and beauty.
I'm now celebrating my unique strengths and beauty.
And hold. And hold. Okay, so it's only first stage stress. I am becoming more loving and accepting of myself.
I'm becoming more loving and accepting of myself.
And hold. And hold. And first, so they're both first stage stress. So not enough to blow the heart chakra completely, but the heart chakra just led us into where we needed to go. And it's 6 drops, so there's some old stuff in here. So 6 drops under your tongue. Oh yeah, we've got to work out how to use a device to make the flower essences too. Okay, so let me go back and check that CV14 in the hippocampus and survival pattern, because that's where we were. So primary memory center. It's locking. Let's see if it's balanced. Yeah, okay, so that's balanced. So it's locking, it's unlocking, and it's back to locking again. So this time it's CV22 and hold. So it's either first or third stage stress. And hold. Okay, so it's third stage stress. This is secondary memory. So it's the longer aspects of short-term memory and long-term memory. This is when there's difficulty accessing our recall. Yeah, difficulty accessing recall from long-term memory. And the amygdala point on there is the lack of pleasure reward. So when you're not getting a buzz from something, why would you bother remembering? Because it takes about 3 weeks to get something into long-term memory as a general rule.
Is that right?
Yeah. So, you know, with kids, you have to say the same thing to them over and over again.
Yeah, people have to do to me too.
Yeah, it's like that whole 3 weeks to make a new habit.
I didn't know that.
So then there's anterior, right, so a whole bunch of these little memory centers are showing up, Nicola. So the next one is GV26. And this one is to do with anterior, hold, it tried. Hold. Yeah, so this one's only first stage stress. But this is the ability to remember new things, laying down of new long-term memory. So it can be as a result of things like head traumas and car accidents and, you know, any trauma that we have that really messes with the brain, probably TMS. You know, it sort of quite messes with our ability. That's, what is it? Transdermal magnetic stimulation?
Transmagnetic stimulation.
Transmagnetic stimulation. And would you find that there were only 10 things that they admit to at all these?
They did a analysis over all of the people who do it, and they found that they listed 12 side effects when there's actually
Hundreds.
well, maybe not hundreds, maybe like 30 short term and 20 short term and 30 long term.
Doesn't make their real life easy.
How hard for people.
So back into hippocampus again. So the next one showing up is H1, so heart 1. So this little point, okay, so it's first or third stage stress. Hold. Right. So this one is about accumulated intuition. So especially when we're doing new stuff like kinesiology, you know, it's such a challenge to, you know, feel confident to get someone on the table and just go through the process, which is why it's awesome that you've got Kate to play with. So H1 or heart 1 point is about accumulative intuition. So we forget what we know. We forget what we've accomplished. We forget when we've done really well. And our brain is only focusing on the negative. It's not focusing on the easy, you know, so it becomes that I should have, could have, would have stuff, which isn't very useful. And once again, lack of pleasure reward center. So it's the top out of our 5 amygdala points. Okay, so there's nothing showing up in first round, so now we put the hand on the navel, so this takes us back into the past. So the belly button point at this point is about saying, okay, hippocampus, now let's go through again and seeing which patterns aren't in the current, they're actually just being reused from the past. So with the hand on the navel, we firstly again check kidney 1s, bottom of the feet, and hold. Okay, so first, no, keep it up there. So it's first or third stage stress, and hold. So yeah, so immediately we're going into the past. So those kidney 1 points, which are about danger, having that sixth sense to warn us of danger, can be out of whack. Perceptions of the world being dangerous unrealistically, or we can have a total disregard of danger, therefore be reckless. And again, it can be connected to that ADD, ADHD brain. I'm waiting till they pulse. And hold. Hold. Beautiful. So that's back to normal, so keeping that there. And the next one is pericardium 1, so either side of the nipples. And hold.
How does the boy treating a girl do that?
Yeah, you can get them to touch it, actually.
Okay.
No, I had Norm on the table about 15 years ago, and there was a point down here I needed to do.
Oh.
And I said to him, okay, Norm, tell me what's going on down here, where can I go? And he pretty much grabbed my hand and goes, you can easily go to here without any problem. All right, excellent. Us girls, we don't know what's going on down there. Take the clothes off, we're fine.
Oh, it's hard when you're a guy.
Yeah. No, that's partly why, so in Touch for Health, they talk a lot about touch locating. So, when we were doing our first kinesiology for the home last week, so sometimes you can get the other person to touch a point because it's just about and then you could use this one, the person testing.
Right.
So it's just about, there's 4 hands here, yours and mine. So as long as we can. And hold. Hold. One amygdala thing.
Is there an ADHD thing here? Like,
With Nicola?
yeah.
Well, you haven't said that, I don't think, Nicola, if it's ADD, ADHD. I think there's, like, for me, feeling your energy, it's always been more about a lack of confidence. That feeling like, and also because the way Nicola was taught initially was so clunky. So then you have all these belief systems in your head. Like I was so lucky about kinesiology when you first start learning, because there's lots of teachers out there who teach in really specific ways, and
they're not adaptable.
Not adaptable at all. And one of my stories that happened so early on was there were 2 girls in the class and they were both Dutch, and maybe they were German, maybe one was Dutch, one was German, no, maybe they were both German, but they were really forthright and I suppose tactless. So there I was as a young kinesiologist and they're just telling me I'm doing it wrong. And every time Linda and I went to a course, there they were. So we go, we don't want to join up with them. And they weren't being mean, they were just being forthright, and their understanding was that I was doing it wrong and they would let me know. It's not very good for your self-worth, self-esteem. Okay, decisions of life or death importance. Hold. Either balanced or second stage, so that's second stage. So these are old patterns that are still affecting you, Nicola. And again, the brain would rather run away. And the thing about life or death importance, it's usually not that. It's usually that the body has put some huge amount of stress on ourselves about something, but it's acting in exactly the same way it would as if we were fighting a lion, a tiger, or a bear. So the physiological stuff that happens inside the body is exactly the same. And that's where, that guy who you talk about, who's talking about betrayal trauma that, half the world has experienced in the past 4 years.
Tim Fletcher.
Tim Fletcher. Because if we're stressed, it shuts down our gut. If we're stressed, it shuts down our immune system. If we're stressed, it shuts down our thyroid. So also, if we're stressed, it shuts down our ability to detoxify. So having that trauma in the background, which is why, it's why things like the counselling, kinesi and things are so important, to help people get out of that and get their story told and be listened to and heard.
Watching Tim Fletcher's betrayal trauma video is really good. Helpful to people.
Okay, let's have a look at this CV8 again, and hold, and hold. Beautiful. Okay. Over the page. And hold, hold. Hold, no. Secondary memories showing up good. Let's check anterior grade amnesia. And hold. That one's in second stage stress. This again, the ability to remember new things, laying down of long-term memory. It's funny, I think my brain's been so discombobulated lately that words that I've been using for 30 years with my clients just aren't coming as easily. So the old cortisol shutting down memory, having quite challenging, damaged clients at the moment. Okay, H1, heart 1. So this is the accumulated intuition again. And hold, second stage stress. All right, so this is an old pain and punishment circuit. This can be also when we've had people gaslighting us in the past, and someone who is telling us we don't know what we know, or someone who's telling us what we're doing is, let's face it, it's a weird world, the kinesiology world. So it's really easy for people not to get it, not to understand, not to, just wanting to tell us we're crazy and silly and, But that's a good thing, and I think this is I'm going to share my tarot card reading. So David did a holistic tarot card reading on me earlier today, and I'm going to share that. And because I videoed it, which is cool. And it just sort of, part of the messaging for me was that is pretty important. Just because you know this much and everyone else knows this much, it's sort of like it's important to, meet everyone where they're at, which is what I try to do, but sometimes it's challenging.
That was a good reading.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so I just started at the top of the row. So secondary memory is showing up again. So this one didn't show up the second one. This is about the longer aspects of short-term memory and long-term memory. It's for when there's difficulty accessing to recall from long-term memory. Right. It showed up the first round, but then it didn't show up this second round initially. And hold. So second or balanced, second stage stress. Nope, not an amygdala balance we need. Base chakra. So when we're not feeling grounded, safe, secure, that one's more likely not to be able to lay down new memory.
Base chakra.
Base chakra, yeah. That's survival.
What nerve goes down there? Polyvagal finish at the here.
Well, the whole parasympathetic nervous system goes all over the body.
Yeah.
And
the other one's internal. Oh.
Yeah, well, there's nerves everywhere, obviously, because if you stand on a thumbtack, the only way you know you've stood on a thumbtack is if the nerves tell your brain you've stood on a thumbtack. But that could also be the glial cells. So as we get older, our nerves start to die off in the peripheral. So old people start to get numbness in their hands and their feet and their brain, because the head is a periphery as well.
Yeah.
But nerve impulses are really fast, whereas glial cells are slower. So it takes about 2 seconds for your head to go all the way to your feet. So by the time...
Energy.
Yeah. So by the time people are standing on a thumbtack and it takes them 2 seconds to remember,
Right.
or putting their hand on a stove and they're not noticing they're burning, that's the nerves are dead, or the nerves aren't being activated for some reason, but the glial cells are still working. And one of the things I love about Charles Charles Krebs is that he was working with glial cells before anyone had actually called them glial cells on the planet. So when he started working with the brain 30 years ago, he was just scanning bits of the brain, and at the time, there were basically all these dark spots in the brain, which of course weren't dark spots, they just hadn't been named or recognised or understood yet. So him and Jackie Mooney, both of them, they would be muscle testing through parts of the brain, and they'd get to these areas and they'd go, well, I don't know what it is, but we've got to do some work on this. And then finally someone said, hey, there's these things called glial cells. Then it all sort of, the science caught up, and him and Jackie were like, yeah, we've been working on that for ages. Which is pretty funny. Charles. He's writing a book, and he wants people who have stories about him to send them, down, so that he can include some little anecdotes. Except most of my anecdotes with Charles were, going out to dinner, having red wine, leaving my shoes in the back of the car. Going out to lunch, sharing conspiracies. Because Charles just knew so much before, he just knew so much because he knew all the scientists around the world. So when George Bush Sr. put $1 billion into neurological research, Charles was expecting it to be about the brain, but it was actually more about other shenanigans that wasn't that useful to humanity. So Charles would be speaking to the researchers and finding out all this stuff well before stuff was published and things. Okay, so third hippocampal circuit. Beautiful. Excellent. Okay, so now where do we need to go? So once again, with that, do we need to go back into adrenal, survival, deep survival, hidden deep survival, celestial circuit? Okay. Good, okay. So back into the brain, where do we need to go next? Okay, so the fourth hippocampal circuit is the one where it's to do with internal negativity that's messing with our ability to think. Well, it's messing with our ability to be positive, but it's also messing with our memory centers. But it's often, I sort of joke that this is our inner truth, which has nothing based on actual reality most of the time.
It must be intuitive.
No. This is the bullshit we tell ourselves. Oh. It's the negative stuff. So it's the 70 to 120,000 thoughts we have per day that says, I'm fat, I'm ugly, I'm stupid, I'm a retard, I'm sort of,
You're an idiot.
I can't, exactly.
You're an idiot, you're so stupid.
Exactly.
But a lot of those have been said to us.
Yeah, absolutely. But then we say them to ourselves.
We did a process in counselling supervision where you line up all of those things and all the mean things people have ever said to you, and then you look at their adaptation. Like if you feel like a loser, you'll be a perfectionist, etc.
Yeah.
I think you've got to reparent that strange process.
Yeah, well, that's why visualization is so powerful, of course, because your brain doesn't know the difference between what's real and imaginary. Mm-hmm. So that can be used for both good and evil. Mm. So if we're told we're dumb, we're stupid, we're silly, we're fat all the time, then we start to believe it. But then we go back and we visualize ourselves at an important time in our lives, mm-hmm. and then have important people, whoever we want it to be. It doesn't matter whether it's mum and dad or grandma or granddad, or whether it's, Jesus, Mary and Joseph. It really doesn't matter who it is. But you bring in people who empower you and support you at that age. It can be you as an adult going back to little 5-year-old Madonna. So it doesn't matter who it is. And then basically go through the same process of having, you know, those words said to us, but then have other supporting adults going, hang on, that's not true. You don't believe that, do you, little, you know, do you, little David, do you, little Nicola? You don't believe that. That's not true.
That's really interesting. What she does, so you look at the self-talk and the adaptions, then she gets you to visualise you're in a playground with kids who are about 5, like you said,
Mm-hmm.
and you work out which kids you like and you'd like to be like, and then she gets you to look at that kid and go, how would you parent a kid to become like that?
Yeah, right,
And
exactly.
then you reparent yourself. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, nice.
We did it in our group last week. I reminded her of it because she was on lecture at uni.
Yeah. Yeah, because because the other little process to do is just visualizing the bully in your world. So who it is who makes you feel disempowered, and then visualizing them in a way that allows you to feel more in control of that spot. So whether or not you shrink them down so they're only, you know, 10 centimeters tall, whether or not you know, draw them on a bit of paper and screw it up and chuck it in the bin, or, you know, whatever you need to do to give yourself some power in that situation. One of the things that a lot of people do that I'm not a big fan of we've got to go into the reticular activating circuit. Okay. Yeah, one of the things that a lot of people do that is if they're feeling negative energy from someone, they send it right back to the person, like energetically. And I always think, that's just adding to negativity in the world. Why would you do that? Like, I've never understood why you would send the energy back to the person who's obviously already struggling and angry or evil or whatever. I'd much rather do something positively, energetically. But a lot of people do that in the spiritual space.
Well, another problem is, like, adverse childhood experience is that the victim adapts and might become manipulative, or, you know, to get your needs met in a dysfunctional home.
Yeah, well, in the Enneagram, one of the number 2 is the carer, and the carers are obviously very caring people, there's no doubt about that. But part of the manipulation of carers is to feel, they want to feel loved and nurtured themselves, and they feel nurtured and loved by caring for other people and getting it mirrored back at them. But they're often unaware of the fact that their overly caring personalities can be quite smothering for some people.
It's called help a person. They're
Yeah.
not really helping. They're getting involved sometimes. Something in helper triangle comes out of NLP.
What's the narcissist triangle?
No, it's called helper triangle.
So that's the same thing.
Well, yeah, it's people getting involved in things as a helper, but really they're manipulating. I've done a lot of that work in counselling.
Yeah. And one would imagine. So with the RAS, it was about serotonin, Nicola. So we've sort of calmed that down, and now that's blown the base chakra. So let's pop the base in, the adrenals, and the sphenoid. And hold. So it's first or third stage stress. Hold. First stage, good.
Yeah, Tim Fletcher, his modern adaptions is really amazing.
Hold. Balanced. Yep. Okay. This is how often I've taught it. Just make a new one every time. Okay, so that first round of sort of integration is showing up as being good, Nicola. So now we're going to do it with the visual pathways, because of course when we're learning, when we're reading, anyway, we'll see what shows up. So the first one, the two lines side by side. Look at this.
Mm-hmm.
And hold. And hold out. And then this one. Hold. Hold. That one's okay as well. Then this one.
What do these do?
Mm-hmm. Tell you in a sec. Hold. Hold out. Okay, didn't like the first cross.
Both of them are very strong.
And then this one.
Mm-hmm.
This one.
Is this a memory?
And hold. Mm-mm. Hold out.
Oh.
So that tells me your optic chiasm isn't working awesomely. So both of the crosses unlocked. So that's to do with information going from the eyes. It crosses through the optic chiasm, goes back to the visual centers, crosses through the optic chiasm and comes back. Because this is our visual center back here. These are just our eyeballs. So that lets me know. So now let's go and have a look at what that's blown. So let's go back and recheck the adrenals. Oh, hello, there's the adrenals. What about survival? Deep survival. And hidden deep survival. Okay. What about celestial circuit? And hold? No.
None of them are holding.
No, so the visuals are blowing a whole bunch of stuff. So the celestial circuit's in third stage stress. Is there psychological reversal going on? Yep, there is. Want, need, think, safe. So safety. It is safe to let go of this problem. Hold. It is safer to keep this problem. Okay. So psychological reversal. Want, need, think, safe, believe, deserve, trust. So just safety. Well, let's just check a couple of the connections from left to right sides of the brain. So corpus callosum, hold. Anterior commissure, so the little nerves to the frontal part of the right. So it's blowing everything. Yeah, so the nerves to the frontal cortex. Let's check the general hippocampus connections from left to right. Hold out. That's really interesting. The optic chiasm. So because it's a fairly, I wonder whether as a kid you might have had some bug that messed with it or something like that, because for the optic chiasm to blow this much stuff is pretty interesting.
Would visualization meditations be good for that?
Absolutely. So I don't know whether you do any of that, Nicola, any visualizations or meditation. Probably Wim Hof would help.
In NLP they have a thing where you say look at words, like you visualize a word, like some of the words you hear like safety, and you visualize it and spell it and then spell it backwards.
Yep.
To bring the optic memory back. But I don't know.
Yeah. No, it's funny you say that because I've actually got some words somewhere. No, I've got no idea where they would be. But, I've got a bunch of laminated words like hippocampus and then get people to spell it forward and backwards. And actually with kids, I get them to do their first name. So just say their name's Nicola, then get them to say Nicola, but then being able to do it backwards. So, ALOCIN, being able to do it backwards means you have to be able to access visual memory.
It's really hard to do it backwards for me. I can do 4-letter words.
Really?
I can't do multi-syllable very easy. Even though, and I experiment all that, I can't.
Because one of the things that we'll get to in the signature system, Nicola, is doing it with numbers as well, because numbers is harder. So even the word hippocampus, as an adult, we know how that's spelled.
You know the syllables.
So therefore you can sort of work it back slowly. If you can do it forward, you can, come up with it going backwards. Whereas it's harder when you're doing numbers. So if you're doing random numbers, then, and there's a second between each number, because that's the trick as well. So if it's sort of like 4, 7, 1, 5, 3, with a second between them all, and then ask them to do it forwards and then backwards, the brain has to actually remember it like it's truly random. And that gives really amazing information about how that memory is going.
It should also promote neuroplasticity.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's just ask the body what we can do to help with this, the optic chiasm pathway. Is there anything we can use as a bit of a one-point correction? Okay, so what do we want? Really? A tuning fork combo? Okay, let's have a look. So lungs are about that internalized grief, guilt, regrets from the past.
Yeah, lungs are all grief.
Small intestine. Yeah, right. So small intestine is the grandmother energy of lungs. So it's the fire element. It destroys grief. And fire element is about that imbalance between love, joy, and hate. So lung and small intestine. Let's have a squeeze what the combo is. So I'll pause because I can't find the manual. Back in a sec.